It's always a different picture in here, isn't it?
A different picture?
Yeah, it's always something different. Quite good, really, considering we do engines.
Except for that one behind you and to the right on the camera. That one's been there a while. My right.
Yeah, well, that one's all done and dusted. We're waiting for the customer to come pick it up.
I'm talking about that one.
Oh, you're right.
That one.
Yeah, well, the Merlin heads are finished for that now.
Ah.
I don't know if we were meant to say that yet.
Well, you
I
have
guess
now.
that's up to you and me, and we have, so there you go. Engines then. So this is another engine going to be tortured on a dyno test cell. 4 litre, all in the name of ageing catalytic converters. So this is number 3 of this batch of 5, I believe. Holly's now finished building that up, so that's now going to be palletised and sent off. This engine is an original 3.5 engine from an MGB GT. Holly's now finished building it up. It was over there, and we were waiting for me to modify the timing cover with the neoprene front crank seal, so that's now been done, which has then allowed Holly to finish building the engine up. This will actually probably be sitting on an engine stand in our workshop updates for several episodes, because we've now ordered a Mazda gearbox to go on the back of it, and I believe we will then be putting it in the car, but the car at the moment is in many pieces. So watch this space on that one, because there might be some RPI involvement on the vehicle itself. We're now talking to the customer about that. So this 3.5 setup is again ready to go to the customer. I forget the spec on this, Steve. Shall I take a look? It's almost like we don't prepare for these.
This programme will return after the commercial break.
So it's 3.5, as I've already said, standard cylinder heads, but we've spec'd the 270 camshaft in there. So mid-range power. An MG's got plenty of, it's a lightweight car, so 3.5's got plenty of bottom end grunt to move it. So there's no point in putting a Torque Max camshaft in there really. 270 will just make it a bit more fun to drive. Obviously the Edelbrock carburetor with the Offenhauser dual port intake manifold and a full RPI ignition upgrade. A setup that we have talked about time and time again, works incredibly well together, does everything we ever need of it, and will undoubtedly be a nice little package in this MG. Obviously retaining the 3.5 in capacity because it's an original engine, but the customer wants the Edelbrock carburetor as we would advise, just to know everything's running sweetly. So do you want me to say everything that I was saying before the compressor fired up a minute ago?
Would you?
Just start at the beginning and continue past where the compressor fired up.
Yeah, it was a really smooth cut as well.
So this engine we're supplying as a full turnkey engine. The customer had no donor or any parts available, which is absolutely fine. We're fully stocked for that scenario. This is going into an off-road kind of kit car really. So a guy called Kevin is building up this vehicle. If you want to follow him on Instagram and have a look at the vehicle that he's building, his Instagram tag is at Kaz, K-A-Z, _9764.
So how did you remember his Instagram tag and not the last engine spec?
I put it on a sticker, but it was too bloody low to see when I'm stood up talking to you. So yeah, well worth looking at what Kevin is doing with his off-road project. Really nice truck, really well spec'd, and obviously it's going to be RPI powered. 4.6 bottom end, stage 3 cylinder heads, the Piper 270 camshaft, and then the bit that's not too common is Thor standalone. So we've done a few Thor standalone engines now, more so in terms of helping people build them up and then supplying an unlocked DCU for them to wire up. But for this we'll be supplying it all, and because it's in a project off-roader that doesn't really have much of a roof, there's no air conditioning, so we're just speccing a slightly different belt length, so we don't have to worry about an extra idler hair. There's absolutely no need for it. So that's what's going on here. Really looking forward to this project being done and on the road. I've followed Kevin on Instagram for a little while now, seeing that progress, and when we get the engine turn, it might be really nice to see him putting that in.
I know that look.
I just hadn't thought.
What are you scheming now then?
Just blink.
You've taken your jumper off.
That's what you notice?
Yeah.
Okay. I
didn't even see you do it.
So, first of all, disclaimer, Kevin, no, you are not having my turbos. But we thought this was the ideal opportunity to bolt them onto an engine, because this is a Thor full engine that we're building up. do a bit of a photo shoot with them as well, because that'll be nice. Certainly from my point of view, I've put a lot of hours into this setup. Those that are following Twin Turbo Tuesday, we will be uploading a video probably before this workshop update actually. Maybe we'll wait until after, otherwise we'll spoil the surprise here. So I'm cracking on with the twin turbo conversion. I've had a bit of time off, but I'm now getting back onto it, doing a custom thermostat housing, which we'll explain in the Twin Turbo Tuesday update video. But yeah.
One day.
One day. They'll be on.
I'm sure you told me they'd be done in March.
I never specified a year. And then coronavirus happened. So anybody that isn't following the Twin Turbo project, this is for my P38 Range Rover. I've done it in such a manner that I've retained, or aiming to retain, cruise control, retained air conditioning. We've not changed anything on the car as such. We've not cut big panels out or anything like that, which is why the turbos are mounted here. And for anybody who's sort of questioning lots of that, go and look at the timeline of the Twin Turbo Tuesday videos, because we explain loads in that, and on the next video we'll be doing a bit of a recap video and answering a lot of questions that people have had over the months of doing it, and as to why there's been more months than I originally planned. Coronavirus is one excuse, obviously. Yeah, so no, Kevin, you're not having them, but don't they look good?
They'll do, I suppose.
Okay, P38 Range Rover. Don't think we've seen one of these on Workshop Update for a little while.
No.
They've been floating around. We've been sending engines out for them and bits and bobs. But so Steve's now about to start extracting this engine. Holly has already built up the new engine. We're fitting in place a 4.6 with stage 3 heads and I think a Piper 270 camshaft, but we'll check the spec and discuss that when we're putting it in, because I can't remember. And there's too much going on to go and look over there and find it all out. Yeah, it's actually coming as a non-run, or did it start with a jump box? It just started. Right, okay, so it did drive in under its own power. We've got a few cars to road test now, Steve, haven't we?
Quite a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll go out and do that, and when we're finished doing that, we'll see how you're getting on. Yeah. If you've got it all out by the time we get back from road test, that'd be lovely.
Is chocolate involved?
It's chocolate involved. No, it's not going to be involved. Right, carry on. Out in the Discovery 2 then. Should we look under the bonnet first?
Yes, we'll look under the bonnet first after we've been on the road test.
Not out in the Discovery 2 then. Let's go backwards. Reverse gear works too, you know.
Does it? Well, that's
Yeah.
good, because it worked before we started.
Okay. That was a good road test.
Yeah, very well done.
The bonnet
Drives
pulls your
nice.
side, so...
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't have enough hands. Oh, they've actually put a light on it.
Right, Discovery 2. I don't know, you've done a timeline on this, haven't you?
Maybe.
Maybe. If not, you'll find some pictures and do one, hey?
Yeah.
So this is actually a combination we're doing a lot of at the moment. Same as what the P38 Range Rover is now going to have. This is a 4.6 stage 3 cylinder heads, Piper 270 camshaft. It's really, really nice combo. It drives really nicely, as you'll see on the road shortly. Also done all new coolant hoses throughout, new radiator, new aircon condensing rad, 4-branch mild steel headers, and then you definitely did a post on the Y-piece.
I did.
Because a guy saw it and lots of people emailed in saying how much.
Yeah.
We've
That's
got
a nice Y-piece.
another Discovery coming in a month's time for a Y-piece like that, and the headers. Magna Core plug leads, obviously ECU remap, which you can't see here because it's up by the A pillar under the dash. So yeah, a really nice package. And we seem to be doing a lot of sort of 4.6 stage 3s with mid-range 270 camshafts at the moment. Really nice setup. Obviously the downside is you don't really see it under the bonnet because it just looks like a standard engine that's been cleaned up. But the proof is definitely in the pudding on the road, so let's do that bit.
Are you sure? We don't have to like
I'm
look in
never
the
sure
boot.
about anything at the
Don't have to
moment.
look in the boot or like the back seats or.
You could lay on the floor and I'll run over you so you can get a shot of that Y-piece as it goes over.
As long as I'm not holding the camera, that's fine.
How was that for you then?
It's not too bad, really. I just breathed in.
Awesome. Right, we won't put out in front of anything because that's generally puts a bit of a negative on your day. Wait for this traffic. So the engine's up to temperature before anyone on the internet says "ooh," as they do. I'm not quite sure how they spell that in the comments section, but Right. So I'm only pulling around there on the revs to about 2.7, and we're already up to the 40-mile-an-hour limit. This engine is really eager to get up and go. Throttle response is, you can't fault it. You really can't. It's just there, and cruising in it just requires minimal effort on the throttle pedal. So when we get up here, I'll just sit at 50 as a cruise speed. There we go, we're at 50, and cruising at 50, I would say I'm 15% on the throttle maybe of the full travel, if that. And if I just breathe on it ever so slightly, she starts picking up and pulling. Obviously you can kick it down in that, but we're down at sort of 1800 RPM there at 50 mile an hour, with the torque converter locked up, and yeah, it's ready to pull, no issue whatsoever. And if we do kick it down again, we get up to the 2.8, 3000 RPM range, and we're back off the throttle because we're doing 60 already.
Yeah, really nice, smooth power from this side.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous to drive. Where should we go, Steve? Let's go somewhere different. Where's different?
Different.
Cornwall! Let's drive to Cornwall.
I mean, we could. There's a petrol station on the way.
Yeah, let's go somewhere different. What?
I cut you off.
Are you recording now?
I am.
Right, stop pressing the stop button. You know me, I like to talk.
Normally when you say...
I'm a
yeah,
shearer.
Normally when you say yeah, you're done.
No, it's just a pause for thought. So and are also those. Yeah, the stationary heads are something that we've always offered, but I think we're kind of now a little bit more, not pushing, but sort of saying to people, look, if you want more and you don't necessarily want the horsepower at the top end, the stationary heads really do make a difference throughout the entire rev range. So no matter where you're camming the engine for, those heads make a huge difference to airflow. I mean, the Stage 4 Merlin heads that go, above and beyond that. Hopefully, if we manage to find some time, we'll get our Merlin engine built for our P38 Range Rover to demonstrate that. But doing those larger valves and larger ports, what Rover really should have done when it increased the capacity all the way up to 4.6, really does just open the engine up, and it's effortless down the bottom end and mid-rev range. You don't have to rev this engine. I've been breaking this engine in. I think we've done 150, 160 miles on it now, which is a bit more than normal, to be fair, but that's where we're at. And I've done a couple of pulls to make sure there's no issues once I got up over the 100-mile mark. But for everyday driving, even spirited getting up to 60 mile an hour, you don't need to exceed 3000 RPM. The torque and power is just there.
Quite impressive, really.
Very, very impressive, yeah. I wonder what it'd be like with turbos on it.
There's only one way to find out.
I'm not building a setup for a Discovery right now. I'd have to buy a Discovery first. Oh, hang on, I did.
Yeah. So as he pulls in, it will look like this car is missing some bits. Before it was sent to us, the customer actually had this car resprayed, sent it to us to sort the engine and the Y-piece, as you'll see on our Facebook page, and now that we've sorted it, he has the rest of the car to build. I'm sure it will look lovely once it's complete.
Do you know what's really weird with this now?
Do tell.
30 mile an hour with the 4.6 of this setup is like you just breathe on the pedal and it holds it there. It's really, really weird but easy to get used to. But I'm used to driving quite a lot of these 4 litre Discovery 2s, and the 4.6 is
Yeah, it does suit them really well.
Yeah, I wonder why they only ever made 4.6 Discovery 2s for the American market. It's not really fair, is it? Why didn't us Brits get them?
Well, we do.
Well, we do.
We just
yeah.
have to do it ourselves.
Well, that also potentially means you get a better version of the 4.6 rather than just a bone stock Land Rover 4.6. Because there's a lot more to 4.6 than just a standard one if you do it the RPI way, that's for sure.
Of course, the same goes for the Discovery 2 that we have for sale at the moment with the 4.6.
Yes, yeah, that's got one in.
That drives very well as well.
That does, yeah. Yeah, we could also, if anyone's interested, upgrade that with the stationary heads as well. That would go nicely. Right, so, that's it, yeah, open your door in my way. So this is 30 and we'll now pull up to 60. That's 60 without exceeding 3,000 RPM. The other nice thing about Discovery 2s is the active corner enhancement, obviously. He says as hurtling down a hill around twisty bends. I do know this road. It's just been a very, very long time since I've been.
Well, you know, at least if you do something stupid, we'll have it on camera.
Yeah. Right, well, I think that concludes this video. Well, no, it doesn't.
No,
This road test.
not at all.
Not at all. So I think we ought to give Steve a little bit longer to get the engine out of that Range Rover. So we'll take the MG Roadster for its final road test as well, I think. So the Mazda gearbox is in there, and we'll talk you through all of the little issues that we had. And there she is, look, we'll jump in there, Steve.
I'll want my jacket for that one, I reckon. This one's different.
Yeah. So 3.9 stage 1 in here that we built last year, and we've just installed the Mazda 5-speed gearbox.
I actually noticed you instinctively went second to fourth there.
Well, you don't need to use the revs, do you?
I can't be doing more than 25, 30. I can't see the
We're doing
speedo.
20 on the freshly calibrated new electronic speedo. I'll tell you what, we'll put it in 5th. The engine's
Okay.
cold, we're not on choke, but it's fine, look, it's not an issue.
Good stuff.
Should we speed up to the limit, because this Nissan behind us is starting to... There we go, there's 30. Yeah, so this should have actually been done a long time ago. The customer bought a Mazda gearbox. Actually, I'll tell you the whole story on this one. The customer bought the engine from us, installed it, didn't have time to finish the install, so brought the car to us to finish the engine install, which we did. And then took the car away. The back axle was a bit noisy, so advised him that it needed doing. He then had that rebuilt. Then used the car for a bit and decided he wanted a Mazda gearbox, so he bought himself a Mazda gearbox, and then emailed me and said, I haven't got time to install it, have you? So I replied to him, yeah, a couple of days work. Well, less than that really. So we booked the car in, and we actually went and collected it, sent Nigel after it, and got the car in on the ramp first thing on a Monday morning. Steve took the engine and gearbox out, because they come out together. Got that done in sort of record time, and went to put the new gearbox in. And what was the issue? I forget now.
Prop shaft length, if I remember.
Yeah, I thought there was something else before that.
I don't remember.
No,
I think I was on holiday for that one.
I think you're right. Yeah, so got the gearbox back in, and then realised that the prop shaft that the customer had bought was incorrect for the flange on the diff. So we spoke to the customer. Obviously he'd supplied the parts, and we ended up ordering another prop shaft from the supplier of the boxes, and they sent the same one out again. What had happened is the original prop shaft they sent out was marked down on the paperwork correctly, but the physical prop shaft was incorrect, so they looked at the paperwork and sent out the alternative, because there's only 2 versions, but of course it was the same as what we'd received the first time round. So the third time lucky we got a prop shaft, and that was about a week and a half later. So we installed it, and yep, great, marvellous. Went out for our first road test, and these customers are naughty sometimes. They don't tell you all the information on the cars. The customer had also upgraded the front brakes. Obviously, before I get in the car and road test it, we kind of make sure that all the pedals do what they're meant to do. But got on the road and everything was nice, and all of a sudden we got a very large grinding noise, and the car was sort of pulling itself up. We thought, oh, that's not good. So we trickled back to the workshop. We were only sort of half a mile away, had an inspection around everything, and found out that the discs, I think you've got pictures of this, haven't you, which you can splice over the top of what I'm talking about now. The discs, when they were getting warm, were expanding and rubbing on the calipers. So again, because we hadn't supplied them, we didn't really know anything about the brake setup on the car. I emailed the customer, and he said no, they're all new, and it's a package that you buy and fit, and there shouldn't be any issues. Apparently, well, you took a phone call from him, didn't you, Steve? He asked if he could buy another pair of discs. What was the answer?
No. You have to buy a whole new brake kit for £1,200.
Just to get a new pair of discs. So we modified the discs. We just turned them down by a mill, just to correct the issue. But obviously that was then further down the line, and what was booked in for a 2-day job is several weeks down the line. However, we're now in the car. It's driving beautifully. The brakes are working, which you'll be pleased about.
Very.
And the engine is still doing all the things that the engine did previously with the old gearbox, making all the right noises and making all the right torque. So 3.9 engine with a 270 camshaft, so nice mid-range power again. Not stage 3 heads on this, just stage 1 heads. It's again a nice combo for a nice lightweight MG vehicle. So a few questions we get on the Mazda gearbox, might as well answer a few of them while we're here, is which version of the Mazda gearbox is it you use? It's the Mazda Mark III MX-5 gearbox. No, the bell housing is not available separately. There's too many different versions of the Mazda gearbox. When the bell housings were available separately, there's just far too many questions and issues with supplying them only, so the decision was made to make it a conversion kit only. We've actually got a few different tail housing options available to us, so we can move the gear stick about. We did a P6 recently, that was in the last workshop update, wasn't it?
Yes.
Go on, you remember, you edit them.
Yeah, the grey one.
The grey one with the 4.6. So that's the added different tail housing onto the MGB version of this gearbox, and we've supplied a different version as well to a guy over KitKar who's now installing it himself. So yeah, a few different options there. Mechanical speedo drive and electronic speedo drive available. This vehicle was cable driven speedo, but the customer opted for the electronic speedo as well, so there's an electric sensor on the gearbox instead of the cable drive, and that now feeds up to the speedo. And we also installed a new rev counter of the same make, so we've got all new dials and information pack in front of us, other than oil pressure, water temperature and petrol. We don't worry about any of them though. Where are we?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go... Oh, this is the NDR.
It is. You once dropped me off here while you drove a Cobra around in circles.
I did. The green one that had that awful gearbox in, because the gearbox remote that we modified to make it work at least. That would have benefited from a Mazda gearbox.
Oops.
see the sign?
Did you?
I did that time, yeah. No stopping, turning or parking. If we should have crawled really slowly and you could have got out and in as we were crawling really slowly, then technically we didn't stop.
Well, it's too late for that now.
Yeah.
I can't put a seatbelt on one-handed, so I'm
I
going
can
to...
hold that. These are my camera skills.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
I'd rather hold the camera than offer to put the seatbelt on for you.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. You know the problem.
You have to give the keys back.
It's a B, and I've got to give the keys back.
You know what's going to happen when you book them in.
Right, well, yeah, this is doing absolutely everything it should do as well, including putting a huge smile on my face. But it's okay, because we've got the GT Sebring in the workshop.
Yes.
Which I think we'll show people. We're not quite ready for road testing on that. We've got a couple of little issues we've got to sort out, which I can go over. But yeah, this will be the last bit of road testing for this workshop update. I can't for the life of me remember what we did earlier other than the Discovery 2. Is that it? It was, wasn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, back to the Batcave, I reckon. Right, so the GT Sebring then. Steve's got the engine and the unexpected Mazda gearbox installed. I don't think actually it was even the last workshop update, it's the one before that. We found that the original LT77 that was in here had masses of free play on the input shaft. So the customer decided, and quite rightly so, to put the Mazda box in here. Obviously COVID was a bit of an issue with trying to get hold of the gearbox. It put quite a massive delay on this project. However, it's all now here, it's installed.
Hold on.
What?
Aren't you missing a bit?
Yeah, we'll just use a jug and pour the fuel in, be fine. Might bounce the valves a bit, wide open like that.
It'd be hard to see with the bonnet open as well.
Yeah, so yeah, we've actually, Steve's got the engine fired up. Went to sort of break the cam in and do the initial sort of setup and checking of things. However, really struggling with the carburettor at tickover. We switched the carburettor over for another one that we had here. In fact, I think we borrowed the one off that MG out there. Just put it on and it ran sweet as a nut. So we're just talking to the customer as to what we want to do with the carburettor. It's nearly 20 years old, the carburettor, so whether we go through the carburettor, see what we find, clean everything out and you know, see if it can be corrected, or whether we just put another carburettor on. Which is obviously the time efficient way of doing it, but it's weighing up the customer's options and costs and things. So that's installed. There's a couple of other issues with this. It didn't turn off, did it, Steve?
No.
Right, so when Steve ran it up, he turned it off and took the keys out and it kept going. So obviously he knows how to deal with that and pull the wire off the coil, the negative side. So we've obviously got a wiring issue on the vehicle. And also underneath, the exhaust system is hanging quite low at the moment. We're a good 1.5 inches away from the mounting bracket here, but it's actually interfering with the axle, so that's stopping the exhaust from going up to its final resting position. So I've just emailed the customer about this as well. Obviously, once the weight's on the vehicle, the axle goes up and the exhaust system would then probably bolt up. But if anyone else then went to put it on a 2-post lift, or if you were going down the road spiritedly and the back end went light, the axle would then try and rip the exhaust mount off the vehicle here, so that's not a good scenario. It would also go clunk as the two metal surfaces clunked. So yeah, just discussing with the customer as to what he'd like us to do there. Obviously we can modify the exhaust system, we can fit another one, there's lots of options, but that's where we're at with this. So I think we'll go and see if Steve's pulled that engine out of the Range Rover yet, and call it a day.
Okay.
That's that then.